What
They
they
both
what
won.
All right, you guys, I think we are live. So welcome everybody. So um, thanks for joining today's LinkedIn live session. I'm Tony Quintus, Director of Marketing's Creative and Brand here at Zones, and I'm thrilled to be hosting another insightful discussion as part of our Tech Tuesday series. Our episode today is sponsored by Intel, and the discussion topic is leading the AI PC revolution with Intel Core Ultra, unleashing tomorrow's computing power. We'll explore Intel's latest advancements and the powerful ways AI is transforming client computing. I'm excited to introduce two experts from Intel who bring years of industry knowledge and passion for innovation. First, we have Afshin Abadi, a seasoned technical sales specialist who leads strategic initiatives for Intel's commercial and enterprise clients. Afshin has been with Intel for an impressive 24 years. That's a tenure option. So, bringing innovative solutions to some of the company's largest customers. Option, please say hello to the audience.
It's very nice to talk to all of you, and I look forward to this.
Awesome. And joining him is Matt Harrison, an AI expert and PC client technical solutions specialist at Intel. He's been with Intel for over 2 decades, and Matt has been a pivotal player in helping IT customers navigate and leverage Intel's vPro technologies. Matt, welcome. Say hi to everybody.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Happy to be joining you just outside of Portland, Oregon, if anyone knows where Hood River is. Looking forward to this. Thanks.
Yep. All right, you guys. So let's jump into this. Afshin and Matt, thanks again for joining us. Afshin, I'm going to ask you the first question. So Intel has transitioned to an AI PC architecture with its Core Ultra processors. What are the key drivers behind this shift, and how does it benefit the end user?
Sure. So a few years back, we realized that the workloads that were be running on these end node devices would be very, very different going forward. With the invention of AI everywhere, we realized that these workloads, there's definitely a security benefit, latency benefit, connectivity, and cost benefit of running as much as you can at the end node versus running it in a cloud. So we knew this shift from the software side was going to come. And these workloads had completely different characteristic than in the past, where we're talking about sustained workloads versus something that peaks up like it does with traditional applications and then kind of goes to the idle mode. So we had to change the architecture pretty significantly to be able to do this as efficient as possible. And at the same time, we decided to have a strategy of having different type of engines and actually take our intellectual properties and categorize them based on characteristic in order to get the best out of the platform as possible. And this is the reason we shifted from our what was called a monolithic die architecture to our disaggregated architecture to be able to separate these workloads based on what they were and run it on the proper engine in order to have the best benefit to the software vendors that will be using our platform. And that's how Core Ultra was created.
Nice, nice. So Matt, I'm gonna, talking about architecture, Matt, I'm gonna throw the next question at you. Could you explain the importance of a dedicated neural processing unit or NPU in Intel's AI architecture and what it brings to everyday computing tasks?
Sure. The NPU is kind of the bright, shiny object, so it gets a lot of attention, but it's not everything to do with the Core Ultra. I will say that people are used to sending AI to the graphics engine, right? That does a great job at parallel processing, but it takes a lot of resources for that. So the NPU is geared at processing and doing pattern recognition. I always talk about eyeballs, looking at everything there and being able to connect the dots to form patterns in a low power way. It's using tensor math, it kind of a fuzzy math to operate at a lower power level to be able to do that. Very much the same where as we introduced both performance and efficient cores on the CPU tile, we're actually doing effectively the same thing on the NPU. It's like, hey, can we do the background tasks, the background AI, things that maybe I'm not as focused on getting an instant result, but what are things in the background? Well, for instance, my background on the video, or things like the background management and security. So it's not always things that the actual end customer will recognize straight away. It's actually IT that's going to love the NPU because they can actually throw those engines that have to be running constantly in the background to say, hey, what's going on here? For an end user, they will notice some things, and they'll notice, for instance, that the background or the noise cancellation being more efficient, and overall things like battery, et cetera, which we will talk about. But primarily think about that as AI for your background tasks is what the NPU is going to be best for.
Nice, nice. Afshin, let's talk about kind of the lineup a little bit. So, what distinguishes Intel's AI-focused approach from competitors, especially regarding the Core Ultra processor lineup?
Yeah, so with the new architecture that we brought to the market, we recognize that not all AI workloads are the same. Think of it as, different type of pattern requiring different type of resources. And we're going to talk a lot more in depth about this, but imagine if you had three engines: a jet engine, an internal combustion engine, and an electric engine. And I ask you, which one is the best? The answer is depends on what you're trying to do with it. So the approach that Intel has taken is not necessarily look at AI of running on a neural processing unit or a graphics unit or processing unit. What we're saying is that we have to have improvements in all of them and allow this green playground for our software vendors in order for them to optimize their workload on the engine that makes sense based on what they're doing. So for us, it's not matter of focusing only on a single aspect of a platform to be able to do AI better. It is to focus on all of it and improve on all of it, because the reality of it is, if somebody told you that in 5 years from now they could tell you exactly what the workloads are going to look like, that's not going to be true. So from that perspective, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create this green field for anything to be able to land on this platform. And as the migration happens by these softwares, we're going to be able to improve upon those as we learn from them. So we're not trying to force a single message or a single architectural decision for the software vendors to be able to land on the Intel platform, whereas our competitors are taking a slightly a different approach toward them than we are.
Nice. So you brought up optimization, you brought up advancement. So let's talk about how does the Series 2 Core Ultra processor improve over the Series 1? And, so what advancements have happened? Talk about speed, efficiency, performance. Why don't you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so there will be announcements of the Series 2 on the commercial side relatively soon. We can't get into the timelines. But what we did was when we introduced Series 1, which came out November of last year, and then it became available in commercial side this year, there's a lot of learning that happens from generation to generation. So what thing you're going to see is there's going to be a fork on the road with respect of being able to have platforms that either transition and do improvements based on Series 1 to Series 2, and then there are platforms that are going to come in the market that are going to be ultra efficient to be able to play in the thin and light and have extensive power and efficiency that goes along with it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do more of a custom design based on what actual needs are in order to be able to match those profiles to the individual and what type of workloads they like to run on them. For example, Microsoft Copilot is something that we talk about all the time with Copilot Plus. We're trying to have platforms that meet the Copilot requirements, and at the same time, we're trying to have platforms that are designed for AI, but give you a lot more elasticity and flexibility from a design perspective for software vendors to be able to work with and actually do optimization, as Matt mentioned, on the GPU, for example, or on the NPU, or have combination of both, even CPU in some cases. In many cases, what we're seeing is that in 2024, the majority of the application vendors, when you look at their workloads for AI, it breaks down to something like 35% CPU, 40% GPU and the rest goes on NPU today. We're going to see a slight shift on that in 2025, but we're trying to accommodate as much as we can with having multiple architecture that be able to meet the need of our customers going forward with Series 2.
Nice.
So
Thank
there's
you.
going to be marginal improvements, but it will be improvement in all three engines and the learnings that we get from it.
Got it. Nice. Matt, so let's talk manufacturing real quick. So, how does manufacturing affect the end client?
Yeah, some people have actually been trained that is the primary change, and it's not. I say, hey, ours is better. We've heard our competitors say because we're using, this nanometer technology, etc. The funny thing is they've been outsourcing for some time. Now, I will admit there has been a period in Intel's history where we didn't invest in manufacturing. So we were actually on the same manufacturing technology for an agonizing 7 years. We had to be incredibly innovative on the design side to compete with a good product there. And the tail end of that, it was rough, right? When Pat came back, he said, "Hey, we're going to lead in manufacturing and design." And you're seeing that come to fruition now. But the other thing we did, starting with Core Ultra, is we said, you know what, we're going to allow flexibility. We don't want the pain of back in 2020 or 2019 when we had supply chain issues. And we're actually going to be able to individually source each of those tile from whoever has the best manufacturing technology, whether that's TSMC or Intel, and be able to basically better deliver to our customers with better diversity. And let's face it, there's even discussions about geopolitical issues, tariffs, all of these kind of things, sourcing manufacturing. So you want to have the ultimate flexibility, which is what we started to do with the Core Ultra series, beginning with Series 1.
Nice. Afshin, so let's we touched on this a little bit earlier with the NPUs. We also talked about the GPU and the CPU. Let's, if you want to, can you expand a little bit and maybe break down how each of those engines
Yep,
contribute to AI tasks?
absolutely. So when we were on the monolithic die as we were in the past, we had basically a single fabric that you had all the resources and every intellectual property that we have built for the last 40 years landing on this particular highway, on this fabric. And these IPs had different characteristics, and you have to go through a massive amount of validation in order for them to coexist. And there's compromises you have to make because these IPs sometimes compete with respect to what they're trying to establish within the platform. With the disaggregated architecture, what we said is okay, we're going to take those intellectual properties and we're going to break it down to three different categories. Things that require high throughput capability, we're going to put those extensions within the graphics tile. Things that require high efficiency all the time, that's what's going to end up on the SoC tile, system on a chip tile, which includes the neural processing unit, and in some cases, additional cores, video extension, things that run sustain and they need to run efficiently. And the third one is things that require low latency, high performance capability. Those things will run on the CPU. And by having this tile architecture of being able to kind of characterize those workload characteristics differently, that's the part that gives, that's our superpower, right? Because what happens is that we call this an XPU architecture. But what this does for us, it allows us that flexibility. Again, it's all about the choice, right? Intel, think of Intel as a foundation. We're the concrete block that you pour before you build a building on top of it. You have to anticipate all the pipes, all the drainage, and everything else that goes along with it. The actual building is the software and the operating system. So what happens is that we're trying to give as much flexibility of whoever and whatever design needs to land on this to be able to land efficiently. And that's really what these tiles are trying to do. And that's why we've done this separation of these workload based on these tiles for our customers and for our software vendors. And the irony of it is that by doing this, not only this affects the AI workloads going forward, but if your customers are interested in existing workloads, if they never cared about AI or they're not going to for the next whatever years, it's the existing workloads as a byproduct are going to get significant improvements in efficiency and performance because of the architecture changes. So the changes are not just about AI. It's a matter of saying, I'm going to be able to handle these massive workloads, but when it comes to my existing workload, now they're going to run efficiently because of the architecture changes that I made. And that's one of the things that we're seeing communicated back to us by our customers, and they're seeing that today with the applications that they currently are running.
Nice. So talking workloads, talking, you brought up the foundation. You mentioned flexibility, efficiency. So Matt, I'm going to ask you, how does the Intel Core Ultra processors align with current business needs around some of these with performance, portability, power efficiency, that kind of support what Afshin was just talking about?
Yeah, sure. So we talk a lot about power efficiency and battery life savings, and certainly that is something that the customers have really enjoyed and value. But there are segments of the market that are like, hey, I just want a lot of power. I want a lot of performance and capability. So you've heard in the news already, we've introduced our consumer platform. The code name is public, Arrow Lake. But that platform will in time come to the commercial space. But just to call out a couple of the families, because Core Ultra Series is a number of family of products. The S Series, which S stands for stationary, is effectively your first desktop system where you do have some lower power benefits, which absolutely does impact the desktop system. You can add in other higher end components into that same chassis without having a lot of run up with the fans and the noise on that. But you can get the other benefits of that in a lower power design. And then on the other side, back to the laptop side, you have multiple options. So we have different pieces and families within this. U being our Ultrabook series, which is very much in that space of, hey, I want to have the best battery life, lowest fan noise, and sleekest design. Right, that is going to be that kind of a U series processor or platform. The H series takes a step up. So typically, these are unofficial names, but H is either your higher end or your Halo platform, where you have a few more cores. So it's going to need a little bit more power to drive those cores, but your highly threaded tasks can go to that. And you'll have a little bit of a trade off of just slightly less battery life on that platform. And then in time, we do intend to have an HX, which is essentially taking the desktop SKU and putting that into a mobile form factor. That's not going to be a super thin and light laptop, but it is going to be a mobile laptop that you can move based on your environment where you want to have the maximum capability. So overall, the design, the architecture gives us a ton of flexibility, and you can kind of decide where you want to go with each of those platforms and what your needs are. And if I'm running a company, obviously you may not have the same laptop to all users. You have to really work with us, work with your OEM to decide what are the personas that we need to hit and what are the areas and values that those users have.
And just to add to what Matt said, our Halo product, the one that has already been introduced on the consumer side for mobile devices, the V version of the processor, which is also known as Lunar Lake, is the one that goes for the best of the best, being able to improve on CPU, GPU, NPU significantly versus the first generation, but do it around half the power of what Series 1 did. So if you look at anything online with respect of the characteristics that's been introduced on the consumer side, expect that to come to commercial. And again, if someone cares about having all day battery life, if someone cares about being able to run pretty much any type of workload with these very, very thin and light devices, that's the one that they want to also consider as well.
Nice. So Afshin, let's jump into apps real quick. So can you elaborate on how well the Intel Core Ultra processors support integration into or with both off the shelf and custom apps in AI PCs. And then selfishly, for me being in creative, I'd love, to hear
Yes,
about how professionals use it in a creative space and productivity spaces.
absolutely. So let's step back for a while, a little bit. Little thing that you need to know is that by the end of this year, we're expecting to have about 40 million AI PCs shipped by Intel already. So if you're a software vendor and you're looking at the entire market of what's available for you, chances are you want to optimize on this platform first because it gives you the largest market, right? So there's a motivation for the software vendors to be able to build based on this architecture. And we've seen some of the applications from Adobe and others, Audacity, that hit the market that actually uses this our new architecture that goes along with it. But we recognize we're only good as how we support our software vendors. So there is a significant amount of resources and tools that Intel has provided to these ISVs to be able to make that transition as easy as possible. Again, the most difficult thing is providing the resources for these organizations to be able to utilize these new extensions and architectures the best as they can. For example, OpenVINO is a perfect tool that we provide to the market to be able to say, okay, if you're a software vendor, if you are, have an XYZ application for video editing, here's some extensions and here's the capability that you can get based on this new architecture. Here's the tool set that you can use in order to do the optimization. And by the way, we have a backend team, a development team that's going to be able to help you do this transition from one to the other. So it's not a matter of us being motivated and them not being motivated. It's a matter of having this um, really collaboration that goes on with respect to this market to be able to do this transition as quickly as possible because it benefits us, it benefits the software vendor, and at the end, it ends up benefiting the users, the end user that goes along with it. Because the more efficiently I can use the platform, the more I can utilize the extensions and basically the silicons that were designed for me, the better that experience is going to be. So ultimately, if I can get better efficiency and I can get a better experience for the platform, everyone wins. And for that reason, and the fact that we're so aligned with respect to our motivation, we're seeing those transitions happen pretty quickly. And as of today, there's more than 350 different ISVs that are working with Intel to do exactly that type of work and to be able to move their workloads to the next generation architectures.
Nice.
If I could just add maybe two things quickly to that is one of my favorite off the shelf applications. We were flawless today, right? But imagine if we had a few too many ums and ahs. There are actually applications that are emerging that we could just rewrite the script a little bit, and our video would be able to sync to that. It would save a lot of time, to make that just as precise as possible. The other thing on the custom side is there's a lot of discussion about TOPS, trillions of operations per second, but it turns out the access to the memory is probably more so important when you're dealing with large LLMs. So the fact that our Meteor Lake platform, Core Ultra Series 1, supports up to 96 gig is terrific. And moving forward, we have an option where the memory is actually on the SoC, specifically the Lunar Lake. That gives your developers a lot of flexibility to develop first, do a proof of concept on their laptop before they have to push that out to their fellow employees and have it judged or the security scrutinized. Don't limit that creative person by giving them a lesser machine. Give them something that they can develop and create on. So that I just wanted to add those couple of points. But speaking of security, and I have a sense you were going to go here next.
I was going to go there. Go
People
ahead.
are obviously very concerned about security and AI. And the important piece that I want people to understand is there's a reason why there's a lag between our consumer product, which typically we're trying to hit Christmas wish lists, right? Everybody wants that piece, and the enterprise application is we go back and we actually harden that for security and the enterprise usage. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about with a system that actually is monitoring the BIOS, doing the BIOS resiliency and the virtualization aspect of that, and protecting against memory attacks, which the old school way of attacking a machine was to try to get a file onto it. Anymore, not have to do that. I can actually run a malicious program on memory if you don't have something constantly scanning that and looking at that memory to make sure that it's valid. One piece control flow enforcement technology was introduced just 3 years ago. And so a lot of people bought a lot of machines in 2020. Guess what? There's no hardware protection for control flow enforcement technology. That might have to be cut off. The other thing that we're doing on our platforms is we're actually using AI to scan what is normal behavior of that CPU contrasted against a malicious attack. You can do that on the other engines, but it's going to be very taxing on the CPU, even a little bit on the GPU. The NPU is where we think that analysis is going to land. We've had a couple developers already saying that they're moving that security analysis to the NPU. That will probably be the trend by and large of early adopters.
Yeah.
Nice. So we got a question from the audience. So let me read the question here. For everyday users, what kind of real world tasks will see the biggest improvements with Intel Core Ultra processors, especially with AI capabilities? Afshin, do you want to take that
Yeah,
one?
I'll take this. So I'm going to talk about my own experience because you hear things from marketing, but then you use it and you actually see differences that goes along with it. Um, the things that I've experienced is the fact that because of the architecture designs and how we can do streaming media based on a different tile than the GPU itself, there is a significant benefit of power efficiency if you're doing any type of video streaming, if you're doing any kind of browsing that goes along with pretty much all Core Ultra, period. Second to that is that if you're on unified collaboration calls, Teams, Zoom, others, right? WebEx, because of a lot of things that happens in the background when I'm sharing content or I'm showing a video, you're going to see the fact that there's going to be significant improvements both on performance and efficiency that goes along with it. At least that's been my experience. And again, when you get on a Teams call, your fans turn on like it's a jet engine, right? That's something that you're going to see alleviation from when you go to the Core Ultra platform because of the fact that, for example, when it comes to the imaging and doing the fuzzing of the background, those things are handled by the NPU, which is much more efficient for being able to do those type of workloads versus doing it on traditional CPU that goes along with it. So that's been my experience, but I absolutely encourage all of you to try to get your hands on a Core Ultra platform and just experience it. It is one thing to be told how you get these efficiencies. It's going to be different for every individual, but boy, have we heard positive feedback from our customers. You really have to experience it to see how it actually associates to your usage. But in almost every case, there's going to be a positive experience that comes out of it because it's so much more efficient and the fact that it can handle so much workloads simultaneously.
Nice, nice. We have one more question from the audience, and then we'll have to wrap up. But for IT, I'll read it. Read the question for IT administrators. What challenges could arise when implementing AI PCs in existing enterprise environments, and how can Intel help overcome them? You
Boy,
guys,
I
Afshin?
love this question. I absolutely love this question. Welcome to the superpower of vPro and what Intel has done for the last 18 years. vPro platform, which is for commercial, allows easy transition from generation to generation, and that happens again when you go from the 13th gen, 14th gen to the Core Ultra. So that transition when you introduce this new platform is going to be minimal impact. However, as you get these new applications, the IT administrators have the flexibility. For example, if they're using some sort of packet inspection and they're doing a lot of optimization, to be able to decide whether or not they want to allow the new version of the clients that actually uses the NPU and the GPU to do packet inspection in the background. So there really isn't that much of a challenge. It actually assists the IT administrator in many cases to be able to simplify their implementation and have a better efficiency that they can provide to their end users because of the fact that the new set of applications that are being introduced recognize the benefits of the platform that goes along with it. So, as you have done transitions for the last 17 years on our vPro based platform, expect the same quality of transition that you've seen in the past, but the benefits that you get from platform are going to be major.
Yeah, I'll just add to that too. If you did have a catastrophic failure from a breach or whatnot, you do have the potential with the vPro platform to recover that system, even rebuild, trigger rebuild by going out of band with that capability. But that's probably a topic for another seminar or session that we can
Yes.
talk about that ability to recover that vPro system and rebuild it.
Nice. All right. So with AI PCs being positioned as the future of computing, real quick, what's on the horizon for Core Ultra technology? Afshin, do you want to just hit that real quick, and then we'll close out?
So as I mentioned at the beginning, this disaggregated architecture is a brand new greenfield for us. It's new, right? Imagine, I'm going to age myself. You always know how long I've been here. Centrino, right? When that hit the market for several years, you saw this incredible improvements that happen from generation to generation because we were working with a brand new architecture and we had so much flexibility of how to optimize going forward. Expect the same thing from Core Ultra. What you're going to see is significant improvements from generation to generation for many years to come because of the fact that it's a brand new greenfield and there are so many knobs and optimizations that we're learning to be able to do come in future generations. So even though I cannot get into timeline, what I can tell you is that pretty much the future is quite bright for us, and the flexibility that this new architecture is giving us is going to allow us to bring a significant amount of benefit to all of our customers out there and our users based on the architecture that we introduced last year.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ashin. Thank you, Matt, for sharing insights and expertise with us today. It's incredible to see how Intel continues to drive innovation in AI and client computing, ensuring that the customers are empowered with the local AI capabilities, enhanced security, high performance solutions. I also want to give a special thank you to your company, Intel, for sponsoring today's episode and allowing you guys to be on with us. Thank you, everyone out there in the ethersphere for joining us today. I hope you found this session valuable, inspiring. Be sure to follow us for more sessions like this. Hopefully we'll have another session with Intel. Like we said, we could have lots more to talk about, right? Keep your eye out for more Tech Tuesday episodes. We'll continue to explore the technology shaping the future of world and business. And again, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Afshin. And until next time, stay curious and keep innovating. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
And so appreciate it.